This is In the Middle with Josh and Sarah Siders. We get it. You're probably going through something that's asking you to dig deep, think differently, and hold on against the odds.
So these are our thoughts about starting new things, shutting some things down, and being with you, right there in the middle.
Welcome back to the In the Middle podcast, the podcast for those of us who haven't arrived yet. I'm Sarah.
I'm Josh. It's good to have you with us.
All right. Well, we are, almost into July here. Mm-hmm. And it's, we're just realizing, oh my gosh, it's literally 4th of July next week. So right in the heart of summer, the pool has been getting rained out a lot. Yeah. It's been a little bit too much. So we're grateful for our sponsor with our kids being home a lot. Our sponsor this week is the Quiet Moment Insurance Company, providing coverage for that one magical moment when all the kids are occupied and something is definitely wrong. Now, this is definitely for us in previous years. So if your kids are, 10 and under, then, the quiet does concern you. That's right. And you need a good insurance company. When they get older, the quiet is also because they just slept in, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's nice.
It's noon o'clock and nobody's up. So that can be really nice. Sometimes you need less insurance coverage at that point, more liability coverage. The quiet also comes from the kids being out of the house. So hopefully they're minding their business.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's lots of different coverage options for us this summer. So thank you to Quiet Moment Insurance. All right. Well, we are again having some fun with our summer topics, and we are discussing the sudden emergence in midlife for the desire for a hobby, something to do, something creative. Yeah. And so I have noticed this for myself. I've noticed this with a lot of other people. And there are these the Holderness family did a reel on this. Did you see that? Where they were like, they get called each individually, the husband and wife get called into this interview room where they get interviewed for their future midlife hobby.
Oh,
and it was like, they spin a wheel. It's like, this is your hobby.
Yeah.
It's like, it's gardening, quilting, birding.
Right.
And so they get interviewed, and the men in this reel only had the option of World War II history. So and when they spin the wheel, every option was World War II history.
I mean, there is kind of a funny, I don't know if it's a meme, but it's like, once you hit 40 as a man, you have to pick between birding, World War II history, and barbecue.
Yes. Yes.
And so, that's choose wisely.
It's like, it is a stereotype, but it's so funny and true. And there's something about, I think we talked about this a couple of times, how some of our friends introduced us to the bird app that identifies bird calls, and that he and his daughter got into birding. And it was like, what is this? The siren song of your parents, but it's like, these aren't even things that my parents got into.
Right.
So there's something about it. There's some of these like smoking meat, I guess, how much of a stereotype are you with your hobbies?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely have picked up several, as I look back. You don't even know you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know they're entering midlife when they are.
Right.
And so there is, like you said, the siren song toward a hobby, something like that. And you're like, you look back and go, oh, that's what that was. So, what I think it'd be, what are some, can you think back over the last however many years, what are some things you've tried that maybe haven't stuck?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the thing that I have wanted to do, that I fancy myself doing, is being one of those eccentric older ladies with the garden. The English garden is kind of wild.
Right.
And so it took me forever. I killed so many plants.
Yeah. Right.
I would bring a plant home, and it was I think you felt bad for me. You were like, what's that, babe? Yeah. What you got there?
Yeah, right.
And you were the one that could do it.
I've killed plenty though. Our cat is also
okay. I think the cat is to blame for yours.
Let's stick with that. That's helpful.
I really think you do a good job for whatever reason, and I didn't understand because I was like, I don't feel like he cares. You care about it because you would attend to it, but like I cared about it from an image and like experience standpoint. You know, like I was like, I care a lot. Why can't I make this work? Yeah. And you're over here like effortlessly keeping things alive.
It's not effortless.
It feels
it's
like
just like
it.
I like finding the ones that don't take as much effort and are harder to kill, and then you do a lot of those.
So it is effort less in terms of less effort, not no effort.
Right. It's like you date plants, right? And you go, these are the ones that'll stick around. So
oh my gosh, that's a really funny
but that's
analogy.
why it's like you fill your house with the ones that are easy to stick around. So
yes, that's true. So that's I would say that's a big one for me that has been like
garden, and I think that's a common one. Like people try and do plants, or gardening. You know, they take up gardening outside. Yeah, my
bestie and I, she was in town this weekend with her kids, and we were like, "What is this about gardening?" And we were like, "Oh, we have this care impulse. Like after you've been raising kids, you want to take care of something when they don't need you anymore." Yeah. And so I think like I'm taking that care and I'm putting it towards the plants, and it actually is working more now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's
so
good.
That's for us. What about you? What are some things you've tried that you were like, no, fail?
I don't know that I've tried a lot. Like the ones that I've done have stuck.
Okay.
So I got back into weightlifting when I was 40. Mm-hmm. I had always enjoyed that, and that was kind of on again, off again in my 20s and 30s, and I just really it stuck.
Yeah.
So I think running.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love the time it takes. I don't. I like the. I'm not great at it. I think for some people it is. I think it's a necessity for others.
Some people's hobby.
So I think that would be one where I'm like, yeah, I do it. There are times where I do more of it. Yeah. Like if I'm going to go on a long hike or something in the mountains, it's like, yeah, all right, I'm going to go running. Yeah. Maybe that's one that hasn't stuck. But weightlifting, smoking meat.
Yes,
that has stuck. So yeah, and so I think what we also want to say is like you do have to try. You have to try your hand at different things. You have to figure and I don't know if it's along the lines, and this is maybe getting into the why or the how. Mm-hmm. But you talk about perimenopause, menopause is second teenagerhood.
Yes.
In your teenagers, you're starting to differentiate.
Yep.
Find out who you are.
Yes.
Maybe there's a second differentiation that happens where you're like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see. My friend said this was cool. You know, so.
Yes. I totally think that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true for men too? Like that they're sort of a second self-discovery?
I don't know. Definitely.
Okay.
In some aspects. I don't think it is the same as women, maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
But so talking about just why do we get into hobbies in middle age? I think there is a rediscovering yourself. I think there is a sense of like discovering who you are outside of the identities that you've embraced. Mm-hmm. I've been a dad. I've been a husband. I've been at this job for X amount of years, and the routine of it, or you're changing relationship with your wife or your kids. I think there's a sense in which you want to discover who you are outside of those identities. Yeah. Like you've put those on the first half of life, you've put on these identities, you've embraced them. And then there's a sense in which I want to kind of discover who I am outside of those things. Mm-hmm. And I remember I like to do that, or, that looks interesting, or that sort of thing. So I think there is a rediscovery or a maturation in that sense where you go, I wonder what it would be like to be that guy. Yeah. And then I think there's a sense in which you stop giving as many craps about what people think, and you go, I just like this. Yep. I like stamps or Pokemon cards or whatever. I don't care what anybody thinks, so I'm going to do it.
Okay, so you're like free to
I think so.
Do it. Yeah. So that's part of it too, is like maybe like before you would judge yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like I'm just done caring what people think, and this feels right to me or interesting or whatever.
Yeah. So
what do you think? Why else do you think that people get into hobbies in middle age?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's like, is self-discovery, I don't know. I mean, like you're talking about self-discovery being a piece of this, and I totally agree. And it's like, is that just automatic, or is that something that you choose to do? It does feel kind of like how you happen into a hobby. You're like, how did I get here? Like, how did this become the thing?
Right.
I think that part of the reason that it's slow and gradual is because, of another reason why you end up in a hobby in middle age is like when you're younger, you're living in that short term like lifestyle, right? Like everything is, your career is new, your kids are young, everything's new, and there's so many fires. I talk to women about this a lot. They're putting out all these fires around you. It's like other people need something from you, and there is that role, right? The identity that you have from that. And so there's also like the time, right? You have time
that's true.
to explore something else because you're not putting out as many fires. Why? Because now the kids can make their own lunch. They're not, no one is like having a tantrum or trying to run into the street.
Right.
It's just more peaceful.
Yeah.
And your brain is like, whoa, I learned how to work with really fast to be efficient.
Yeah.
And what do I do with this? So I think that the time and like the shifting requirements of the roles is really big. And I think that part of that kind of dovetails into self-discovery is like so many of the first stage of life ways of knowing ourselves are like our relationships with others, right?
True.
Here's my role at work,
right?
Or here's my role in the community, or I'm a parent or a family member of some kind, or I'm a spouse. And so you're relating to people, and somehow as those relationships shift, you are like, oh, I'm a person on my own.
Right.
Right.
Totally.
And so you like it's almost like you want to get to know yourself outside of what people want from you.
Right.
And you have the time to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Those would be the big ones. I
think also there's a sense in like hobbies are stress relievers. And so I know for me, so I like lifting weights, and I like going by myself.
Yeah,
like I'll take the kids.
Do.
Some people need the class or the trainer to hold them accountable. I just really like the introvert time and the personal challenge of like, I hit this PR, I'm going to try this lift or something like that.
Yes.
So there's a sense of calm and stress relief and centeredness that I get out of it. And then some of it also is the practical. So along with that, I realized like I was not getting as much protein as I needed in my nutrition, and I wanted to really up that in an affordable way. So that's there was a local guy that brought a lot of smoked meat into town, and I was like, I kind of want to try that, and that would be really affordable outside of like actually buying the smoker. But that would be really, affordable to have bulk meat to do meal planning or have it for the week. And so it was practical, like, I actually really enjoy this. I enjoy smoking pork shoulder or brisket or chicken thighs or whatever. And it helps family. And then my protein, nutrition and all that stuff goes through the roof, which is really good in an affordable way. So I think there is a practical, like, I like this. And it helps me and helps the family. So,
I mean, that feels like a perk, like, I don't know.
A hobby that's a perk?
Well, because I'm going, okay, how would we even define a hobby, right? Like, what makes something a hobby?
Okay, that's a good question, too.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you have a thought on that, because as we're talking, it's like, oh, like you're saying running, right? And then you're like, not sure. And I'm like, wouldn't you know? Wouldn't you go, oh, this is my hobby. I do it for the joy of it.
Right.
Because if you're like, I got to grind it out. It's somebody else's hobby, and this is my thing that I'm doing to prepare for something. I'm like, I don't know if that's a hobby, and I'm not trying to take it off your list.
No. That's why I named it as sort of like something that didn't stick.
Yeah.
Right. So the gym is stuck. Running is kind of like, okay. I've never done a 5K. I've run 5Ks. I run them all the time. But I've never paid for a race. I may. We talked about like a family 5K or something.
Yeah.
Oh, there's our cat.
Yep, here he comes.
Raising pets. That could be a hobby too. Our pets raising us.
Yep.
But yeah, I think like, what is a hobby? Well, for me, running, that's more of a necessity.
Yeah.
Like longevity, mobility, cardio. Yeah. Weightlifting. Yeah, that's a hobby. I enjoy that. I'm self-motivated to do it.
Okay. Yep.
I'll pay money if necessary to do it. I'll invest time, resources.
I think that's a big one,
it.
is paying money into something.
Yeah.
Because you have invested more.
Yeah.
And like the smoker, like, your algorithm is tuned to it, right? It's like sending you all these videos.
Yeah, my Instagram reels are like church leadership, business startup, smoked meats.
And
gym
it
routines.
gym? I was going to say gym.
Gym routines.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's got your hobbies in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sometimes like your algorithm can tell you a little bit about what your hobbies are. And based on that, so if you're going to look at mine, it'd be fashion.
Yeah. Fashion.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what does that look like? In what way is that a hobby? Well, it's something I love. I invest in it. I read, Substacks.
Yeah.
I think about it. I think about like, a look or like a way of presenting myself, and also like pushing the boundaries of something a little bit. And so I'm thinking about it in terms of like this definition of a hobby. It's like something I'm willing to invest time and money into.
Right.
I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to not be great. I think that's something, right? Like with your career, these other things, it's like, I want or need to be really good right away or whatever. There's sort of a sense of like anxiety around it. And I don't think with a hobby, you're doing it more to get lost in it.
It doesn't have to pay. It doesn't have to have a ROI. Right. The ROI is like, I actually enjoy doing this.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think in some senses, like, you should also probably figure out what your hobbies are and protect them, because there is this sense in American culture about like everything should be productive and efficient.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
And you, like, some people get good at like baking or something and go, I should open a bake shop. And then they lose all the joy in the hobby. And so it's like that you could still maybe make some money doing what you love to do, but also it's like, if you lose your passion for what you love to do, there's a danger in that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's like, I think people do ask themselves that, like, oh, I'm good at this. I do this a lot. Should I open a business around it? And it's like, well, now it's demanding something from you.
Yeah.
And can you maintain your passion? We have a really fun pie shop here in town. And I feel like they have grown a lot.
Yeah.
And their owner, Tiffany, does a really good job. Like, I feel like she still loves it.
Yeah.
She loves like what pie does.
Right.
She has such a good why around mental health.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's been able to keep it. Is it a hobby anymore?
Yeah.
No, it's probably not. But like, I feel like she's kept the joy. I think that's rare though. I do think that's rare.
Well, and I thought about that for like, smoking pork shoulder is like super easy to me. And I thought, I wonder if I could like leverage this into a business. I wonder if I had friends.
Yeah.
Because like when I make it for church or wherever, people are like, this is the greatest. I'm like, I fell asleep doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I wonder if I could charge, a couple bucks, whatever. And the more I got to thinking about it, looking into it, it's like all the food licensing and stuff you have to do. I'm like, I don't think so. Like,
you just want to keep it a hobby.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll send a text to some friends. Hey, I'm firing the smoker up. If you want to buy a pork shoulder, bring it over. I'll throw it on for you. You throw me a couple bucks if I'll pick it up for you. Whatever. That's it. But having that, like, the consistency, and then people are messaging you, hey, I want to buy that from you. I'm like, I think I like to do it enough that I need to not do it for other people like that.
You're doing it all in your own terms.
Yeah,
I think so. That's like
especially when you involve the government.
My gosh, right? I'm the food handler's license and the inspections.
Yeah.
So I think that you mentioned this already in a couple different ways, and it was something that came to mind right in the conversation here was like the value of a hobby, because it's like, okay, you're in midlife, you're going through these shifts, and you're more likely to look at yourself as a holistic person away from your roles. Your roles are maybe asking less or different from you. Yeah. And so you're doing this, but you're feeling the conflict because, like you said, there is this thing like all of your activities should be recreation. You know, maybe we are doing something for recreation. We can like accept that, but it's like, you know, there's that inherent like desire to maximize, optimize, like how do I make this the best? How do I, you know, make it efficient? How do I make it like justify what I'm doing or the money I'm spending on this? Right. It needs to make me money. It needs to make me more fit. It needs to do something for me. And I think like that American view of a hobby, it kind of like, I think people feel conflicted about hobbies because it's not, you can't, it's like, well, I'm not very good at it. It costs a lot of money and I just like to do it. Is that a good reason? So it's like, what is the value of a hobby if it's not about efficiency?
Well, so I think, that's a great question. Let me come at it from maybe the angle of like, in other cultures that aren't so work-centric, production-centric, having hobbies is like, it's a requirement to be a well-rounded person.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think that is one of the lost benefits is like to be an interesting person, to have something to talk about besides work and kids.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
Is like, I have a hobby that makes me interesting. I know things about things.
Whoa.
Right? Like I'm just kind of thinking like other cultures, and obviously there's some kind of like, there's a little bit of privilege, like affluent like time that you can do that. And so I want to acknowledge that. But like, it doesn't cost very much to have a reading habit where you go to the library and check out books.
It's true.
Right?
Yep.
Like you can still do this pretty economically. You can go listen to birds for free.
Oh my gosh.
If you are in any kind of like access to like where trees are. You know?
Right. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think we've lost our interest in being interesting, you know? And so, I think there should be a reclaiming of that to just go, I like things that I do that I don't get paid for. Yep. Now, I think the danger in that is that, well, I'll name this too. It feels almost selfish to have a hobby sometimes.
Yes.
Like
exactly.
I do this for me.
Yeah.
Or we do this together. Yes. Or so, and this is for us.
And that's the value thing, right? What's the value if it feels selfish, right?
Now, I think overdoing it can be selfish. Yep. There can be this obsessive or like, I don't care how much it costs or how much time it takes. I'm going to do it. Yep. There is a danger in that. And you have to, you know, your spouse or partner, whoever, needs to have open dialogue and access to like, hey, maybe not the $1,000 pair of binoculars now, right? That sort of thing. That's okay. But I think like what I would say is it's okay to have things that are for you that don't pay you back. Yeah. In, you know, the ROI bottom line sense. Yeah. And be aware of how much time and resources it is a sink in. Yeah. To, you know, so there maybe I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth and say maybe there is a little bit of an ROI or at least like a cost versus benefits sort of thing you need to be aware of. So it's not selfish to have a hobby until it becomes selfish to have that hobby.
Right. Like how much are you saying no to other people or like how much it's kind of like, is this a priority above your relationships or would you like, you know, allow tension in a relationship in order for your hobby? Yeah. I think that's a very good point. But like, so if we're thinking about value, the value of the hobby, you mentioned that weightlifting is a stress reliever. I think that's a value. Yeah. I think that it definitely intersects with recreation. Yeah. And when we do like a wheel of life in coaching with people, recreation is one of the categories. Like it's a way of, you know, I think people think of maybe a sport a lot of the time, but it might be something artistic, right?
Right.
Like, oh, I'm just
totally.
taking a dance class, or I'm, taking a art class at the art center, or I'm kayaking.
I'm auditing a class. Kayaking.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that's really good, and this kind of gets into the how to find a hobby. If you're having, just like, oh, okay, I'm giving myself permission to do this. A former pastor, an author, and he hosts retreats and different things for ministry people. I thought this was really good. He said, whatever you do in your professional life, you might need to do the opposite of that in your hobby life. So because pastors tend to be, they're thought workers. It's more white collar. It's often behind a desk or in an office a lot during the week. He suggested having something hands-on that you're doing. Yeah. Something more manual. Yeah. Manual labor, even. Woodworking. Yeah. I think that's for me where the gym comes in. It's it's more physical and active. But if you have a blue-collar job, if you're more on your feet or active, it may be something where you're sitting and concentrating and thinking. Yeah. Reading, painting, something artistic, things like that. So that's cool. So it's like to think about being well-rounded. What is it that's going to help you do that? And then that might be an avenue for a hobby exploration. Yeah. And I also think like giving kids permission to have hobbies early on, like trying different things is really important. So when we talk about like getting to adulthood and going, is it okay to have a hobby? Why am I drawn to this? Yeah. Maybe that's because we haven't given, or someone didn't give us permission when we were kids to have things that didn't turn into a job necessarily. I think that's super important to not shut down people, like kids' passion, ambition, curiosity. Yes. Because we tie it so often to a job. Oh my gosh, how can you get paid for that? It's like that is not the value of the passion or the interest. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Explore that. Yes. And maybe it will be an avenue for vocation later on, but maybe not. Maybe it's just something you're either really good at or really maybe you're really terrible at it and you're really passionate at. Yep. That's okay too. Yep. And so I think giving like both older and younger people like encouragement and access to things that they enjoy doing outside of how do you get paid for that?
I completely agree. I think like if you look at so many different like maybe ancient cultures, like or just cultures currently, in existence. I mean, I know I have one of our friends, she and her husband got met in Spain, and his view of the world of work is really different. Like he's like, work isn't like my calling, it's like this thing that I do. That's right. And I remember like asking him about his aspirations for work, and he was kind of just like, I don't know. It's like I'm doing this right now, and it wasn't like that American ambition, and it kind of threw me off a little bit because we moralize it, the Protestant work ethic. That's right. And so because we moralize the Protestant work ethic, having a hobby really feels like, can I do this? There's a sense of guilt. Like, I'm not going to be good at it. I'm not going to make money. So why would I do it? Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing to catch ourselves in. Like you're talking with a child, with someone who's older, as you're discovering something, it's like, is it worth doing if you're not going to be amazing at it? Right. And I think we've said like, well, if it's worth doing, you're going to be really good. If it's worth doing, you're going to be committed and you're going to grow. And it's like, yeah, you might grow and you might be committed, but you just might be very average, even at your best. Right. But you're doing it for the love of it. You're doing it for like going down the rabbit hole. And like you said, being an interesting person, allowing yourself to explore the edges of who you are outside of the roles, relationships, and requirements that are in your life. I think that's so important. Otherwise, all you are is just a heavily optimized like function, right? Like, oh, in this role I do this, and in this role I do this, and you're just optimizing all the time.
It's no wonder that people come to an identity crisis when their whole life has been about making money or serving some kind of utilitarian purpose for society. And like, if that shifts or changes, you go, who am I? Yep. Do I want to be this person? Do I like this person? Yep. Like, I think hobbies help us to understand like, I have purpose outside of making money. I can create things. I bring beauty into the world.
Yep.
I'm an interesting person because I can talk about things other than work and politics or whatever.
Yes. This is reminding me of like when, you know, I don't know, it was a few years ago where I would say to you, like, I don't want to only talk about theology and or church or whatever.
Sure.
And I was like, I would sort of jokingly say, even though I appreciated your passion, I would be like, you need a hobby, right? I would just sort of say that off the cuff. And then at some point you like decided you wanted to start reading fiction.
Yeah.
And it was like, what was that moment where you
that
like,
was really, so Eugene Peterson had been in my head. He was a pastor and a theologian, and he had always talked about like, don't just read theology, read poetry, which I'm still not great at, and fiction. And so I respected him and thought, okay, maybe he has a point, but never got to it. And then I actually hit mental health crisis because of my job. There was some pastoral PTSD. There was really unfortunate situation with a former staff member, and I could not concentrate.
Wow.
Like my brain was just, you know, the fuzziness of anxiety and trauma just shut down.
Wow.
But, you know, I could do my job. I could be present for you and the kids.
Yeah.
But like what I had done for so many years, you know, I'm reading like a book a week, that sort of thing, and different leadership, theology, church management, you know, all sorts of things. I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't focus. I couldn't, you know, just, it wasn't interesting, that sort of thing. So I picked up fiction and started reading a lot of like Agatha Christie, like murder mystery, and some science fiction, things like that. And so my brain stayed active.
Yeah, true.
And I had, and I could escape a little bit. And be curious about different, you know, literary genres and things like that. Yeah. So that's what it was. And I read dozens over the next year and a half of murder mystery and science fiction and things like that.
I remember you starting to read some C.S. Lewis. In the early days, you would go, I need to read fiction. You kind of like grind it out.
I was like 2 or 3 books into the Narnia series, and that was the year I finished it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think
and I had done that before, by the way, being a pastor. I had done, you know, Lord of the Rings and some C.S. Lewis and other things, but it's like it became utilitarian. So I've been a reader since I was 23, 24, something like that. And so it was good to be, and I have that. I have different genres of books that I'm reading, but I always have fiction that I'm active, that I can just kind of dip into. And
you're good at that. I've been impressed that like once you shifted into that, you went from like basically having no hobbies and just kind of like a single leg stool, you know, with how you did things, because you read a ton, but everything was directed towards your work in ministry, and like just it felt so singular. So once you got into these other things, like you've really developed them and invested, which has been really cool. Yeah. I'm better at poetry. Like I like to write poetry. Yeah. I don't do it a ton. Reading it, we've got some up here on the bookshelf, and that really has always spoken to me. Like I remember starting to write poetry when I was in high school, and I always wrote a little bit. Like sometimes it would be a story, or it would be like a personal reflection, or even journaling. But then I remember when I was in high school, it was like I was writing poetry because I didn't know how to be direct with myself about how I was processing things. And so poetry's always been a way for me to like understand things in you know, allegory or metaphor. And so that's helped me a lot. So I'm better at poetry than fiction. You're good at fiction, which I appreciate.
So we're both kind of mentioning things. What would you say your main hobbies are at this point in time? Like things that over the last year plus that this is what I do. Can you name some of those? And then I just wanted to like dip into like, how do you find a hobby? You know,
gosh,
and sort of related to like, tell me what your hobbies are and how did you, because you're kind of asking me that too.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, so I would say that one, like, and I just have a conflicted relationship with it, which is interesting. But writing, I feel I love writing. I love having written. This is how writers talk.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wrote.
Yeah.
But then I'll have like a big complex as I think about the page. So it takes me a while to like actually get down. But I do love writing.
So
and I think I've always been a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fashion is something also when I was a kid, I like putting together weird outfits and pieces. And that's always been something, even though it's definitely less.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of conflict around that sometimes, like, oh, yeah, feel selfish about it or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's been there. And then I think as I get older, like visual arts, gardening, I'm getting into, but I don't know the names of plants. I don't care as much. A little bit I'm getting into gardening and just landscape design. And I really see myself getting into visual arts at some point. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I'm hosting a watercolor. A friend of mine is doing an intro to watercolor workshop this summer. So I'm going to go and I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
I see that maybe being something that I get into in the future. What about you?
So, yeah, I have, I go to the gym, I lift weights and I enjoy that. I enjoy reading, all kinds of reading. Smoking meat.
Yes.
It's really,
thank goodness for that. I'm a beneficiary.
I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. I enjoy, I enjoy watching movies.
Oh.
I just like
yes,
good
you
film.
Totally do.
I do.
Yes.
I actually, this is really funny. I need to find more time to watch movies. I usually don't. I just sitting down and enjoying a movie.
Yeah.
I'm active doing other things. So
that's
do. That's really good.
Yep.
I like tech stuff.
Yeah,
I like kind of tinkering on computers. I've built a couple computers. I enjoy some of the creative digital process of that stuff. And actually like building things. I've built, benches and tables and the kids' play set and redid my home study and things like that. So I enjoy that. I tend to be a little bit of an overthinker, quite a bit of an overthinker. So it takes me a very long time to complete a project because I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So I need to be a little bit more free in the, I'll figure it out when I'm doing it sort of thing.
But we have some furniture in the house.
Yeah,
that's from you.
And that started actually a while back.
Yeah.
It's sort of out of necessity about, starting out in our marriage and stuff. It's like, well, we could hire somebody if we could afford it, but maybe I could figure out how to do this. So,
that's true. Yes, it was.
But there's something, there's just
you've done a really good job. People
thanks.
have been impressed.
I've enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
Those are my main ones, I would say. And so again, kind of even going into like how do you find hobby? Some of it's like practical.
Yeah.
Like I need to figure this out, or this is going to benefit us, or you do it and you figure out like, oh, actually kind of like doing this when I have time.
So you stumble on it.
You stumble on it.
Yeah.
How else would you say you found?
I think that like when I think about one way is like who do I imagine myself being?
Yeah. Okay.
Because aviation is something that like I have a future version of me is also a pilot.
Yeah.
And I'm like this quirky Iris Opful person who could fly a plane. Like I don't know what that means, but I think like something that you envision. You're like, oh, I would like to be the kind of person who fill in the blank, right? Yeah. And so then it's like, oh, travels a lot or does photography or, knows how to identify a bird call. There's something about answering that question. I want to be the kind of person who, and maybe even like, community engagement or like philanthropy could be, in some ways like a hobby, right? Like it's just like things that you're investing your time and your money and your passion into that you don't necessarily have to be good at. That are giving you a robust sense of yourself.
That's cool.
That are making you interesting. So I think that for me is like a big one.
Yeah.
And being willing to like your friends are like, oh, we're all going to go to this like karate like class, like beginners, or we're going to go to the watercolor, the writer's workshop. And you just go. And you're like, I'm bad at this. I've never done it.
Mind. Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to be the best because it's a hobby. You're not going to be an Olympian at this thing. That's okay.
So the other side too, I would say that friendship has a part to play in helping people find hobbies.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Because we also have this competitive, especially as men, this competitive, like, I have to be the best or I have to prove I'm the best. And I think that's really good when you're saying, inviting people to a watercolor class or like a yoga class. There's some people that have never done those things before who could really benefit from not feeling the shame of being bad at things.
Right.
And I think there are people that like I remember, like, actually hiking has been something that I started to take up 42, 43. I got invited on this hiking trip, which is great. And then kind of felt like it wasn't the best experience to some degree.
Yep.
Because, and I won't go into it, but it's like I found a love of hiking, and I also would not do some of the things the same again.
Yeah.
And so my and now I've taken John on long hikes in the mountains. Gone with my brothers-in-law, your brothers, and it's been really great. And my approach is to help, like, John, not just as my son, but as someone who is learning to love doing this, or your brother Mark, who didn't have a good first time, to like slow down and help them have a beneficial time in hopes that it will stick for them and it's something we can enjoy together.
Yes.
And so let me tie it back to, like, I think it's incumbent on us to help other people find new things to do without making them feel silly or stupid for having the interest in doing it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's so true.
So when I think, maybe tie it up with this, when I think about kind of your traditional hobbies of middle-aged people.
Yep.
Like, what are they? What would be the ones that you're like, yep, those are but not in a tongue-in-cheek way, but actually like, like our listeners or our viewers, like, go try something new.
Yep.
What would those be?
I think it does very much tend to be in the recreation spaces or creative. So food is creative.
Yeah.
Visual arts, music, gardening. I think that's big. So recreation, creative, and then like adventure.
Yeah.
Like it's piloting, or it's hiking.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's travel, learning a new language. I think that those maybe, I don't know if there's
really
just
cool.
the categories,
That's
but
good.
it's like those are maybe some ways to think about it. Like, okay, is that, do I need a sense of adventure? Do I need some creativity?
Yeah.
Do I need recreation, like moving my body, things like that?
Right.
Those can be really helpful to get into. And then it's like also, what are my friends doing? What's available around me? I tend to resist like stereotypical kinds of things, but then I also laugh when I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm doing this and I can't believe it.
And I think that's part of it is like you stop caring about caring. I'm just like, okay, I just like this. I'm just gonna do
I just like it. It's I don't need to prove that I'm so
unique. I played pickleball a
unique.
few times, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see why this is fun.
Yes, it's so accessible.
I need to do this more.
It's so accessible. And people who are like very maybe average, it's like, well, I can be on a huge ping pong court and hit the ball back and forth.
Yeah.
So it is really like that permission.
Yeah.
I think is just
so whether it's
the
something
thing.
More mainstream, pickleball or yoga or birding or World War II history. Go for it.
Yes.
Do it. Whether it's more obscure and stamp collecting, or I don't know, what are some of the obscure ones, off the wall ones?
Oh gosh,
you would think of?
I can't think of an obscure
People don't
one
talk about
obscure.
them as much. Yeah.
But I do love hearing something that lights someone up. That they're excited about is
absolutely.
fun to talk about. I think I get in boring conversations with people. I love politics, okay? But I do not only want to have that conversation.
Oh, man.
That's so boring.
So would you say
don't be boring.
Podcasting is a middle-aged hobby?
Oh, my God. Okay. I don't know, because everyone got into
that kind of
it.
awareness of our milieu right now?
I mean, it's part of like the messaging and like the world that we're in. We're talking about midlife in both of our respective spaces. So it just feels like a way to do it.
If you need to start a podcast on your stamp collection, do it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll listen, but I will cheer you on and ask you how it's going from time to time.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how to say if podcasting is a hobby. Maybe.
For some. Depends what it is.
I mean, we enjoy it.
For some people, it's part of their business. For some people, it's like, I just like talking about this.
Paying us, right? A lot of money.
Yes. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
So with that, we would love to hear any hobbies, any interests, any curiosities that you're getting into, have gotten into, or are dreaming about. So,
your future hobbies, the person you envision yourself being.
I think that's a really good way to think about it too.
Yeah. So those are, the what is it? The Artist's Way. That's a good one for exploring.
The Artist's Way.
Julia Cameron's book that I was reading at the beginning of the year.
Oh, right. Okay. That's right.
Yeah, that's a good one for kind of getting to know yourself a little bit and exploring. That's if you want something a little more structured. So
that's great.
Yep. That's a good one. Well, speaking of, what are you reading, watching, and listening to right now?
So there's a show I dip into every once in a while and go back and rewatch it. Anthony Bourdain.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think it's Parts Unknown. It could be No Reservations. They're similar, but they're different. But anyway, I like to, when I'm doing kind of like mundane work on my computer, I like to have something off to the side that I can like sort of pay attention to.
Yep.
And his show is one where he just goes to different parts of the world, samples their food, talks about their culture a little bit. It's like, it's so good. It's so rich.
Cool. Yeah.
And so that's when I just started again, maybe last week. Was watching a little bit yesterday. And it makes me hungry. And
and there's that adventure.
There's adventure. There's cultural interests.
I've seen so many, like that's so like good. A lot of men resonate with that.
They do.
Like
they do.
There's that creative and exploratory side. So it's really interesting how he continues to be a cultural force.
Yeah.
It's maybe something worth exploring in another episode.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's all I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So how about you? What are you reading, watching, listening to?
We are still making our way through Psych with the kids, which is really fun. Yeah. We love our mysteries and detective shows. I just, reading the New Yorker, trying to go to bed, reading something. And I have also been enjoying the Substack Muse Guided, really, really thoughtful, good writing, somebody who knows how to write, like a creative writing English, major kind of person. You can always tell the difference. It's just better. And so she always has a lot of really thoughtful things. It's Tamara Muse Guided on Substack. So I've really been impressed with some of her thoughts. And I read a ton as well. Sometimes I don't think of it as a hobby because I don't, because I do it so much.
Right.
But it really, I love reading about technology and about nature and about poetry and kind of having this constellation of things that theoretically aren't related and how they integrate for us as humans into our human experience. I feel that it being able to tie together ideas across multiple categories, I think is very interesting. I love having those conversations, and I want to be somebody who can. And so
cool.
I invest a lot in reading like that. So
what's bringing you life right now?
Man, I think that the garden, we did some landscape redesign, and I'm doing that 90-day sprint with my small group women's coaching.
That's good.
And just having a lot of momentum and creating this alternate space. We hadn't used our patio as much over the last few years. And so designing intentional spaces that feel calm and peaceful has been a real boost. What about you?
I would actually say the same
really?
thing. The little patio space that you did.
No, I mean, I don't want to take credit. You were out there.
Envisioned.
You helped. Yes.
Yeah. I spray painted the patio furniture.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We gave it a second life.
It got a makeover, and I'm looking forward to continuing on that. But yeah, it's nice to be out there early in the morning and read, or late at night, and just kind of chill and relax.
Yes.
And we've had some great summer nights for it. So,
yes. Oh my gosh, it's been so fun bringing it back to life. And yes, it was like an effort, but it's not done. But it's just been really neat. It's creating like kind of mental spaciousness and calm for me. Yeah. It's exactly what I was hoping, and it's even better than I thought. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us this week on this conversation on hobbies, the value of a hobby, and exploring what that might look like for you. We highly encourage it. Even if, and especially if, you are terrible at the thing you love, we want you all in. And so please comment, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Let us know what you're into these days, especially the obscure ones. We need to add those to our list. And if you recommend that we try it, we would love your recommendation.
That's right. Yeah, we're up for new things.
Yes, we are. So until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you then. This is the In the Middle podcast with Josh and Sarah Siders. Visit inthemiddlecoaching.co for other resources, courses, and helpful tools.